Hi, I'm Kendra Lesher, and I'm here to talk to you about technology inclusion in physical education. I'd like to start off with a quote: "Educational technology and school construction go together. Modernization, updating education facilities, and making a capital investment in education are all included." This shows that as you're growing and trying to improve as a school, whether it's the building facility itself or just the educational system, technology is a huge part of that. So I want to look at why is there a need for a change? Well, with that kind of quote, essentially, technology is evolving, just like as a school we're evolving. Things are constantly changing, and technology is just more part of the modern day world. Different subjects are using it, and PE is not an exception to incorporating technology. There's also the national PE standards and state standards that require that teachers use technology in their instruction. It's a standard, and currently most teachers have indicated in studies that they do incorporate technology, but it is in more of a general sense. Technology also allows for student-centered learning. So instead of just having teachers up there leading, it's more student-driven. They have more investment in it, and they're going to get more out of what they're doing if they have some more of a connection to it. So with that, it creates deeper learning experiences. You can also use technology to create objective assessments and increase student motivation. So those are some things that we may be using technology on a general basis, but not as much as we could. So again, in a study by Bake in 2016, it said that about 88% of the teachers interviewed did use technology, but they were used for general sources like PowerPoints or websites, not really using in-depth during classroom time, but more just in the background planning end of it. So the students weren't as exposed to technology. And the teachers here indicated that was generally because they felt they had inadequate training in the technologies that were available and how to implement them effectively. Most of the time when they were using technology, I'm talking about like the general technology here, like PowerPoints or electronic documents like Google and websites, it was more self-taught, and then it was also a large time requirement. So I'm going to be looking at and addressing different ways to restructure that. So my big plan, and while I'm here, I'd like to set up different trainings and communicating with IT departments so that after I would leave, that the teachers still would have a resource to go to with any additional help. I'd also like to look at a lot of reasons why technology isn't already incorporated. Would be maybe a cost issue. So I can help find different grants with technology and then grant writing assistance along with that to get the resources that you would need. So like I said, technology is also used to network. So for instance, I'd meet with the IT departments, but I also want to give teachers resources where they can get outside of their immediate district to get technology answers. So Shape America has a discussion board post, and they're getting new help with different teachers. In the study by Krause in 2017, they were looking at those discussion board posts in Shape and seeing how many technology-related threads were in that study, and all of those got multiple answers and different suggestions for how to implement or improve or use technology for the classrooms. And then Facebook and Twitter are also resources that the teachers could use. I also want to look at restructuring lessons for technology incorporation. So just different setups that you would have so you could implement it properly. And that would include making it an environment that would foster some deeper learning for the students, different assessment strategies to incorporate technology, and then how it would increase student engagement throughout the class. Heart rate monitors and motion tracking devices are some pretty common new technologies being used. They're also some of the most effective. In the study by Nichols in 2019, they used heart rate monitors, and it was a way that students got instant feedback on what they were doing, and from there they could make judgments and analyze what they were doing to determine whether they should be working harder. They could see what each level of their heart rate looked like. Maybe if they were sweating profusely, they were at a higher heart rate, so they knew what physiological signs to look for that would represent when they would be at a certain heart rate, so that maybe when they're outside of class, they would know what that looks like. And then the motion tracking devices made them a little bit more aware of their surroundings and where they were at. So in that study, the results showed that the students had improved motor skill acquisition, creativity, problem solving, and critical thinking. So by being able to analyze and get that instantaneous feedback, the students showed improvement in their skills and their learning. Video recordings are also a great technology to use. It helps keep students accountable. In a study in 2010 by Wang, he studied a class and they did golf swing analysis. So their golf swing was analyzed and they performed afterwards, looking at their video, looking at corrections that they could make and where they maybe went wrong, maybe what they did well. But from that they got more, they felt more responsibility because they had that accountability. By watching the videos, it also saves time on task because they could essentially record the videos during the class time and then after class, use after class time to analyze what they were doing so that class time isn't wasted sitting and watching the videos of their performance. That could be an assignment that would be completed after the fact. There are also videos that you can use as visuals. So we talk about different types of learners, and so we have like our visual, auditory, kinesthetic, but these would appeal more towards our visual learners, give them a different perspective or maybe a different example to look at other than maybe a peer or just the teacher themselves. It could also give them different angles, and there's videos that could maybe help in breaking down or explaining the skill. You can also use the videos as resources on either the school or PEU's website, so that if the student was struggling in a skill, they could have an outside resource and on their own time they could look at that and work on improving. So a study done by Pyle in 2014 indicated that the student motor skill performance did increase with the use of digital video recorders. So it was improving, and they were also able to save time during class because they would analyze their recordings after class time and have that resource. They also, the study by Wang showed 4.7 out of 5 students did support the tech incorporation. That was a study when they were using the video recordings for their golf swing analysis. But the majority of the students enjoyed that they had that responsibility and that level of accountability because they were going to turn in and reflect on their serve that they had through the video. So they appreciated that technology incorporation. Another way that technology is incorporated is through project-based learning. So if you'd like to talk with me further, I'd go a little bit more in depth on how to structure good project-based learning, but essentially it is creating a meaningful project. So the teacher would design skills that the students would use and a driving question that they would answer. So they would have some freedom and flexibility on the specifics of how they would answer that question. So it gives a little bit more of some personal relevance because they have some voice and choice in what they're doing. It would be more meaningful. Generally, it's presented to not just the teacher, but some kind of outside environment. So maybe it's families, maybe it's if they're doing something related to sports, they can present it to a sports team or some coaches. So the study was done in a PE class in 2004, and the students analyzed different tactical strategies that were common between different sports. So they were able to choose the selection of 3 different sports that they wanted to analyze and make the connections between those 3. So they could choose sports that were maybe more relevant to them. They could choose the specific skill sets and tactical strategies that they wanted to focus in on. But they were analyzing the skills, showing their mastery of knowledge, and then the students showed that they found it a lot more positive of an experience. They were sharing what they did with their families, a lot of them, so they incorporated the technology in the presentation aspect. They were videotaping their game scenarios and putting that together in a movie or a commercial trailer type presentation. So it was more brief with a little bit of an explanation of how that connected and showcasing their knowledge. But the students showed that they really enjoyed that aspect of it and felt that they got a deeper understanding of the concepts related to those sports and how they connected to one another. Technology can also be used as a form of assessment. So it allows for assessment outside of class. You can use Google Forms, the video analysis that we were just talking about, or different applications to assess and maybe just have an outside of school assignment as long as the students have access to those resources. The good thing about assessment online and using technology is it's online, so it's easily accessible for everyone, including the other teachers, the principal, the students themselves, and as well as their parents, so that they can stay up to date in how their student is doing. So one of the more common and most effective ways of assessment, or most objective ways of assessment as well, would be through heart rate monitors. So as you can see in the visual here, the heart rate monitors, through technology and applications, you can monitor each student individually throughout the class time and see whether or not they have reached their target heart rate and how long or for what duration of the class that they have sustained their target heart rate. Again, giving instant feedback to the students, increasing motivation, and also gives the teacher an objective way to assess the student's effort in the class. The motion tracking devices can assess the different progressions. So, for instance, the AI device will track the team's movement throughout a game scenario. So, for instance, a maybe less skilled group of students would be shown to have clustered around the ball versus more spread out and in their proper zone and prepared for different strategies and game scenarios. So it can show progression, either giving the teacher feedback and assessment over time, and then you can also assess the students' progression throughout the class in how they move during different tactical situations. But the thing with using some of these technologies is that it's objective and it's reliable. So, like, the data does not lie. So, for instance, heart rate monitors, if a student is telling you that they are working really hard, if their heart rate is super low, that's a means that you can say, well, this is the evidence, and they can't argue with that. Meanwhile, it also allows for some diversity. If there's some less athletic kids and it doesn't look like they're maybe doing as much, maybe their heart rate is up higher because that's what their potential is at. So some different issues and solutions, the cost and availability of resources, and as I said before, there are different grants that can help with this and different resources to help with those grants. Another is the time to plan. That kind of goes hand in hand with having adequate training. If you have the training and have the structures in place and set up and developed, then the planning time decreases tremendously. For proper technology selection and implementation, a good resource for that is those networking, Shape America, Facebook, Twitter can all assist with that, and as well as IT departments. Technology isn't incorporated in as many ways as it should be due to lack of training and structures. So I'm here to help you get those structures set in place to create a deeper learning environment, higher engagement, and stronger assessment strategies for your students. This includes tech resources, grant assistance, and just overall helping to make your school more improved, up to date, current, and ready for the next big thing.